Greetings. Today's medieval recipe is coming from a book, A Mediterranean Feast, and it is a recipe that comes from medieval Turkey or Anatolia. The recipe is called yogurt la shalgam, or fried turnips with yogurt. So we're going to turn up the volume here and do another turnip recipe.
Turn up for what?
In the mountainous Anatolia of the 13th century, turnips were a common food, along with vegetables like leeks, celeriac, onions, garlic, cucumbers, black-eyed peas, lentils, chickpeas, and fava beans. The literary works of the Persian mystic Jalal al-Din Muhammad din al-Rumi, who lived in the 13th century, and whose followers founded the whirling dervishes, contain many references to food, which often included yogurt. So this recipe uses 1 pound of small turnips, and because I had turnips from previous recipes, I wanted to finish them off. Some all-purpose flour for dredging, 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, some salt, 2/3 cup of beef broth, 1 to 2 cups of high-quality, full-fat, plain yogurt, and freshly ground black pepper. Here are the steps for preparing this recipe. In a large saucepan, boil the turnips whole in enough water to cover them for about 25 minutes. Drain, peel, and cut the turnips into 1/4 inch thick slices. Dredge the turnip slices in flour, tapping off any excess. In a large skillet, melt 3 tablespoons of butter over medium-high heat. Then cook the turnips, salting to taste, until golden brown on both sides, about 8 to 10 minutes. Remove to a baking pan. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Pour the beef broth over the turnips and bake them until tender, about 15 minutes. Remove from the oven and coat with the remaining tablespoon of butter. Cover with the yogurt and pepper and serve. If you have some leftover turnip greens, collard greens, or other vegetables, it's nice to have something to do with those, like feeding your pets. Recipe looks interesting because the turnips have actually been cooked 3 different ways. The turnips were boiled, and when I was growing up, my mother would boil turnips. I didn't particularly care for boiled turnips. You would boil them, mash them like potatoes, and then put some butter on them. And I never really liked the boiled turnips, although I do like raw turnips. They're similar to a radish without the hot spice to it. So this recipe must also have been made by people who didn't like boiled turnips, because instead of mashing the turnips after boiling them, they were sliced and then pan-fried with flour. Now, I tasted some of the sliced pan-fried turnips, and they were actually pretty good. So you coat them with the flour, put them in a little butter, fry them in a pan till the coating is brown, and those were pretty good. But there must have been more that was wanted besides just fried turnips. So then they were layered in this torte dish with beef broth and then baked again after they were baked, covered with yogurt. So the yogurt will give it maybe a little sweetness or tartness compared to just the turnips. So we'll make sure we get the yogurt with that. Initially, I would not know this was a turnip. Because they were deep fried in the pan, there is that kind of the flavor from the flour coating and the cooking in butter that everybody likes on deep fried food. And that's the first flavor. A little salt. The yogurt is nice. It's not too strong. It's okay. You know, I never have been eating turnips since I was a kid and would not have really considered them have been something that I would eat on a regular basis. But many of these medieval recipes do include turnips, and cooking them like this, they're really good. I wouldn't mind eating this on a regular basis. If I had to eat turnips, I would probably boil them, slice them, and fry them like I did with this recipe, and maybe just eat them in that fried version. But baking them with the beef broth, with the yogurt on top, makes them taste good, and the yogurt makes a very interesting tartness to it. All in all, it's really quite good, and I have no complaints about this recipe. So if you want to try something unique, and if you have a lot of turnips left over, turn up this recipe and see how you like it. Thanks for watching.